Thanks for It is 7 o'clock, 7:01, so we'll start the meeting. Welcome everyone to the 73rd session of council this Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. In-person meetings have resumed with a hybrid format option, where members of council and the public can still join electronically via Zoom. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the township website. All rules apply to the meeting as if everyone was attending in person, and if there is a problem with the technology impacting the proceedings of the meeting may be recessed at the direction of the mayor to confirm that the electronic format is performing effectively before proceeding with the agenda. In the event of a connection or service disruption to those attending electronically, the mayor may recess the meeting to allow for attempts to reconnect. So call the meeting to order at 7:01 and note that there was no closed meeting this evening. So the next is our national anthem. So if anyone could rise to the hymn. Please be seated. We acknowledge that we are being hosted on ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, Mississauga, and Omama-Winini people. We acknowledge and welcome the presence of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, Inuit, and other First Nations from across this vast land, who also make this place home. The lands we are on today are recognized in the two-row wampum, dish with one spoon Treaty 27, and the Crawford Treaties. That brings us to our open forum. The first 15 minutes of any regular council meeting will be set aside for open forum. Any individual may address council to voice opinion on subjects of municipal concern, excluding matters subject to public meetings, i.e. under the plan, or matters related to the municipal election, including candidates running in the election. That should be directed to the clerk. Our policy does state that no delegate shall speak disrespectfully of any person. Individuals can only speak once and for no more than 3 minutes. There is a timer on the screen that will indicate 1 minute remaining and the 20 seconds program. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with Ontario's Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information provided for, at, or at a public meeting, consultation, or other public process are considered part of the public record. The order will be those who registered in advance or signed up in person followed by a raised hand for those attending electronically. Please remain available at the podium should council have questions. So we do have a couple signed up for tonight. The first one, Rich Watson. Please come to the podium, state your name, address, and then provide us with the information.
Good evening. My name is Rich Watson. I'm a resident of 112 Greenhaven in the Loyalist Golf community. And I spoke, I guess, at the last meeting, just briefly again about we had a petition to request the removal, well, not even the removal, the non-installation of a sidewalk in Greenhaven. So I'd like to point out one thing. The councillors Parks and Budzik asked for a report, and they asked for 3 sections. One, to talk about why we would reject the installation. Secondly, the complete installation. The second would be to come up with some options, a smaller version, a reduced version of the sidewalk. And the third one would be to go with what was expected or produced. In any event, some of the comments they made in the report were, I would say, exaggerated, and I'm being very generous in that term. I would, outside of these council chambers, I would use other words. In any event, they say the sidewalks are provided with rare exceptions. We're talking about without, and in this case, there are 4 cul-de-sacs in our community. None of them have sidewalks. And this would be an exception in that case. So it would hardly be rare if we have 4 out of 8 streets. Secondly, the responsibility for the cost of not installing the township would be responsible for that, but there's no cost if you don't install. So I'm not sure what that point is. So it's unclear to me. A number of the points were like that. They were big statements that were vague and not based in any actual figures. Another point is that they said the developer may object to the installation. And we have a representative from the developer here, and the developer has no objection to the fact that we don't want the sidewalk. In fact, they'd be happy if they don't have to do the work, and in addition to not having to put out extra funds to, install the sidewalk. And finally, they suggest in the report that it's the owner's responsibility to find out about the sidewalk design, because as it sits now, we're talking 6 to 6.5 meters off the curb, which in some cases wouldn't allow for a very large vehicle. And later in the report, it talks about, the prospective buyer should be aware of how much space, and perhaps you shouldn't consider, purchasing a truck or a large vehicle. Time is up. Okay. Final thing, there's no financial repercussions for not having a sidewalk. If they don't do it, there's no, and I'm sure the builder would be happy to walk away from that. Okay. Thank you.
Council, any questions for the presenter? See none. We have one more signed up, Michelle Allais. You can state your name and address and then provide your information.
My name is Michelle Allais. I live at 5050 Front Road, Stella, Ontario. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Tonight, I want to talk about good governance. I take this opportunity of your last regular council meeting to ask council again how you will deal with the May 24th resolution number 226530. At its September 12th regular meeting, council voted to only receive my letter of August 24th, in which I asked that advice be sought from the Integrity Commissioner on how to deal with what appears to be Councillor Porter's contempt of May 24th council's resolution. It's clear that by doing so, council opted to not do anything about it, not only with Councillor Porter's contempt, but also de facto decided again to ignore a resolution adopted by this very council. How ironic that at the same meeting, my delegation to ask council to ask on its own resolution was ruled out of order. The clerk respectfully pointed out that I was not abiding by the Municipal Election Act. Shouldn't council be held to the same standards and respect his own resolution? It would appear that different sets of rules are applied to ordinary citizens than elected officials. Ignoring the May 24th resolution will not make it go away. Furthermore, the demands for good governance is not going to go away, and the concerned citizens of Loyalist Township are not going away. As a resident who still believes in democracy, accountability, and for whom apathy is never an option, I feel that it's my duty to plead again to Loyalist Township officials, elected officials, to deal with this resolution in an ethical and transparent way. Tonight is not too late for council to show accountability and to respect your own resolution and inform Loyalist Township residents on how you will carry out your responsibility. Failure to do the right thing can only lead to further public cynicism and mistrust of elected officials, damage the township's reputation, and deter investment of new businesses and residents. In closing, I would like to quote the statement of principle from your code of conduct. Members shall uphold the spirit and the letter of laws of Canada, Ontario, and the laws and policy adopted by council. I thank you for your time.
Is there any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, thank you. The one thing I will just mention is, from what I understand of the rules in lame duck, is that going to the Integrity Commissioner in lame duck is not normally allowed. So we've got 2 more weeks of this council, and then the new council may look at doing something. But the opinion that I received was that in lame duck, that is one of the things that we're restricted. So I'm just sharing what I received.
Respectfully, there are other options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in chambers that wishes to speak under the open forum? Seeing.
Good evening, Your Worship, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Albert, and I'm an employee with the Caitlin Group. I'm the director of Loyalist Development. I just want to reiterate with one of our clients has gone after is hopefully getting rid of the sidewalks. My issue is the timing. I'd like to get this stuff done this year, sidewalks in or out. And I'm kind of hamstrung with asphalt plants closing down. So I guess we're all wondering if that would happen now or next council, which would put us into November, which, yeah, I'm not just going to put you on the spot.
To fulfill the council resolution, we would have the report come back and the decision would be made on that. So I'm assuming that would be in the new council term.
Okay, good.
Next month.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in the open forum? Seeing none. I'll open it to the virtual audience. Is there anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak through the open forum? If you do, please use the raise hand. Okay. Seeing none, we will move on. Excuse me. The next item is the public meeting. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority, screen is frozen. There we go. Technology. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 in the accordance with Ontario Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act, that all information provided at or for a public meeting, consultation, or other public process are considered part of the public record. The public meeting is being held in accordance with the provision of section 1715 and 3412 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the Loyalist Township official plan and amendment to the township zoning bylaw. The proposed amendment applications apply to the property municipally addressed as 12-20 William Street in Odessa. The proposed official plan amendment for the Loyalist Township official plan proposes to redesignate the land consisting of approximately 0.81 hectares from commercial and low-density residential to medium-density residential to facilitate the development of three three-story stacked row dwelling condominiums. The proposed amendment to the Loyalist Township zoning bylaw is to rezone the lands from the residential type 1 zone to the residential type 5 exception zone to address a number of site-specific performance standards to facilitate the development of three-story stacked row dwelling house condominium consisting of 51 units. Council shall hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor, or agent any person who claims to be affected by this application. And before we go into the open meeting, there's a presentation for council. Can you bring them into the meeting? Yep. Okay, so the first one is Ms. Powder.
For tonight's presentation, my colleague Camilla will be doing the presentation, and I'll be here assisting her with any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome, and please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Camilla Sitkanova, and I'm a junior planning consultant with the applicant Armitage Homes Limited. And I'm pleased to present an application for zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the property at 2012 William Street. Wait, can you see my screen?
If you're sharing your screen, we're not seeing it.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's good now.
There we go. It's up now.
And I'm pleased to present an application for zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the property at 1220 William Street, Odessa, and to receive public comments. So we held a public open house on September 8th, 2022, where 10 residents in the neighborhood attended. Thank you all who attended. The common themes that we've heard that people are in general supportive of the residential development in Odessa and the form of housing we're proposing. However, the concerns were related to traffic, noise, and blasting. Just to give you the context, the property is bounded by the entrance exit ramp 599 to Highway 401 to the north, and by County Road 6, Wilton Road, and commercial uses to the east, as well as by existing low-density residential uses to the west and south. So the map that you see on the slide shows the aerial of the surrounding uses within a 600 walking radius, which is approximately a 10-minute walk. So the image illustrates the proximity to commercial uses along Main Street, shown in purple, worship places in dark red, institutional in blue, as well as open spaces in green. This slide shows the photographs of the subject site itself, that is approximately 0.8 hectares in size and is currently vacant. Additionally, in the bottom right corner, you can see the photograph of the parquet that's also within a close walking distance to the proposed development and currently serves as an open green space for residents in the neighborhood. In regards to the policy context, the official plan designates approximately half of the property as commercial and the other half as low-density residential. To emphasize, the commercial portion designation is a recent change in the Amendment 38 of the official plan. Previously, it was designated as low-density residential, together with lands to the south of the subject site. To accommodate the proposed development, we're proposing a medium-density residential designation. So in the zoning bylaw, the subject site is designated as R1 zone, while we're proposing an R5 zone with reliefs regarding the reduction of front and interior side yard setbacks, as well as the parking space dimensions. So here you can see the list of reports that we have submitted together with our application. Intent of application. So we're currently proposing 3 stacked row dwellings comprised of 51 units in total, both 1 and 2 bedroom units with 80 parking spaces. The type of ownership proposed is condominium, where units are individually owned while the maintenance is split between the residents. So on the right here, you can see the conceptual site plan showing the location of stacked dwellings, parking, and the amenity space. So on this slide, you can see the front and back facades of the proposed dwellings. According to the definition, stacked row housing is a residential building containing 3 or more principal dwellings, where each dwelling shall have separate and individual access. So here you can see the floor plans for the proposed development on the right side, section showing the distribution of units within a building in the top left corner, as well as the side elevation in the bottom left corner. So this slide demonstrates the renderings of the proposed development just to give a visual representation. However, it is subject to change in the future. So the proposed development is consistent with the provincial policy statement, as it provides housing options through intensification and efficient use of land, while doing so in a safely manner. Therefore, in conclusion, the proposed zoning bylaw and official plan amendments are consistent with the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, the County of Lennox and Addington official plan, the Township of Loyalist official plan, and the proposed development represents good planning. Thank you so much for your attention. I will be happy to answer any questions you have. And I also have my colleagues, Latoya Powder, who's also a planning consultant, and Cassell Prince, who's our traffic consultants, to address any of your questions.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for the presenter? Councilor Booker.
Yes, this may be for your traffic consultant. I'm noticing 51 units with 80 parking spaces. Some of them are 2-bedroom and even some that look like 3. Has obviously this is the traffic study been done to make sure that 80 parking spaces would be enough to handle 51 units with that many possible people living there?
Thank you. Good night, and good night. Thank you for the question, and I appreciate speaking in front of council tonight. With regard to the traffic study, the traffic has been generated based on accepted industry standards as it relates to the amount of traffic that will be generated by the proposed development. And likewise, parking for the proposed site has been reviewed based on appropriate zoning bylaws. And we have also referenced updates with adjacent municipalities, specifically Kingston and Greater Napanee, as it relates to changes for parking requirements. At present, we have not received any comments from staff as it relates to traffic analysis and parking for the development in the submitted report. And we're currently also awaiting peer review comments for the submitted study.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open it to the public. Now, I'd like to start. We did have a request from someone that is virtual. She's still, or he, still available. They're coming in remotely, and apparently their data is very weak, so they just wanted to be able to speak before we go into open session. So Heidi Molimer, I pronounced it correctly.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and just before you start, I'll just make a couple comments so that everyone's aware. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to receive questions, comments. They'll be compiled and be coming back to council in a report. So if there's, if you ask a question, don't be surprised if there's no answer tonight. It will all be answered in the report that will be coming back. So, Heidi, please proceed.
Are you there?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it cut out. I did not hear what you said. I apologize. Is it too much trouble to ask you to repeat that?
Okay, very briefly, it's we're just going to be receiving information and questions, and a report will come back later. So
Okay.
If you want to proceed, that'll be a part of that report.
Perfect. Thank you. I do understand, as I spoke with Debbie, we're not limited to 3 minutes, I believe, but I will do my best to keep it brief. First of all, I'd like to address some things that Camilla said. I was at the public meeting and it looked like there were far more than 10 residents there. Just saying, I'm sure that she's probably going off of the official list that everybody signed, but it looked like there were more there. And I did not hear comments of people being in support. So I feel like that was misleading. I just wanted to point that out. So in regards to the points that I had prepared, my main concern is that right now I understand that you're required legally to have one public meeting on this zoning amendment proposal, and a different council right now is listening to us, then we'll be making the decision. And I'd like to know what will be done to inform the council making the decision about everything that comes up this evening. So I understand this is being recorded. Will they then view it before they make any decisions?
The recording is available on YouTube, and I'm assuming that any member that's going to be joining council in the future will review it, and there will also be the full report. And
I really hope so, because it's hard, even should you choose to be generous and provide us with a second meeting, it would be hard to replicate this, right? Anyway, I'm really hopeful that the people making the decisions get a chance to review that. That was one concern. Second, Camilla mentioned, and I believe somebody else mentioned the parking spaces. And they said they have not heard any concerns about that. That troubles me because I provided a very detailed email to David Casemore, and I won't bore you with the details, but parking was definitely mentioned in that. Maybe they're just referring to the fact that council hasn't officially responded to it. But for instance, tonight, there should be, according to Loyalist's own bylaw, there should be 2 parking spots per unit. And if there's 51 proposed units, by my math, that should be 102, not 80. And then they say, well, that's not necessarily consistent with Napanee and Kingston. Well, I'm sorry, folks, we're Odessa. We're not Napanee. We're not Kingston. I really implore Loyalist Township to stick to their own bylaw and the 2 parking spaces per unit, because if you're familiar with William Street, if the parking overflows onto the street, there won't be able to be hardly one-way traffic, never mind two-way traffic. It's not safe as it is. There's no sidewalk, the whole 10 yards. Again, I won't bore you with what's in the email, but I ask you guys to please review the email that I submitted to David Casemore. The other issue that I wanted to mention was it is currently zoned low density residential. When I moved in there, I chose it specifically for that. I've spoken to many of my neighbors. They also choose to make their livelihoods in that area because it's low density residential. I'm not against growth. I'm aware that Loyalist Township has to grow, but what I'm proposing is that is a horrendous spot, and changing it on us is bait and switch. And I don't feel that that's fair to your constituents that already exist and have existed there for years and paid their property taxes. I do not feel that for any of the reasons, there's multitude reasons that I put in that email, that proposal and that for that three-story stacked houses is anywhere close to safe. And I listed all the reasons there. And again, I won't bore you with that, but I'm imploring you guys to please, this needs to stay low density residential. If you want to build this, do it on a brand new site and at the outset, designate it as medium or high density residential, and then do it so that when people move in there, they know what they're moving into. So I guess I want to thank you very much for your time. And again, I didn't want to bore everybody with what I already said in the email, but please do review that because I have many points. It troubles me greatly when I hear Armitage Homes say that nobody has any concerns. Maybe they haven't received it officially. There are a lot of concerns. So thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate you hitting me first in case my data fails. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much. It is a policy that it's not supposed to be clapping and things in the chambers. I know I have to be the bearer of that, right? But we're going to try to keep this as clean as we can. Thank you, Heidi. With that, I will go in chamber. Anybody in chambers that would wish to speak to this? Okay, I'll just start right with the lady right next to the if you could just come forward. Sorry, could you just come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and provide us with your information.
Good evening. My name is Amy Offord. I live at 7 William Street. My first question is to Armitage as to why this site. It requires so much amendment and so much bylaw, why did you choose this site? Are they still there?
Yes, but it
Okay.
can be received and everything will come back and report.
Okay,
So,
like Heidi, I have concerns regarding the parking. It does not meet current Loyalist Township bylaws. What about snow removal? There's no sidewalks. The other things that are the infrastructure. You're wanting to put in 50 units in a residential neighborhood that hasn't upgraded since it was installed. Internet. It's currently already slow. You're going to add another 100 people to that. I know that's not their concern really, but it's something to think about. Also, I found the studies that David Casemore sent to be very biased. They undervalued the traffic that will be involved with this development, saying that public transportation will be available. It's not, Odessa has no public transportation. Also using the main street as a employment opportunity for the people that are going to live there. Odessa, unfortunately, is a commuter community. Whether you're going to Kingston, whether you're going to Napanee, you're not generally working right in the village. I think that's all I have to say. Oh, no, what about, there was concerns about blasting, as well as parking when construction is going to be happening. William Street is not a large street, and you're going to have construction on the street for how long? How many people are going to be there? I have small children. It's not safe for them. They brought up the parquet. The parquet has 4 swings. It's not designed as a park. for another 100 residents, or if they have small children, 25 extra children to be playing in that park. I wish I had better thought out my thoughts this evening, but thank you for listening. Please listen to the concerns of the residents of the street. Please.
Thank you. I'll go right next door in the next seat. I believe you're leaving this up.
Hi, my name's Mark Patterson. I live 6 William Street, right across the road from Amy. I have concern with the engineering report for the wastewater management. It says that the wastewater management is currently sufficient for these 51 new dwellings. Right across from my house, I have 2 diverging culverts coming from my ditch across the road. They fill and freeze in the spring with the runoff. The road floods. The neighbors were all out there in the spring trying to unclog them so that the flooding, diminishes. It's obviously not sufficient. I also have concern with the traffic during the building process. I didn't see any mention about application for temporary County Road 6 thoroughfare for the construction vehicles. Our road, there are no sidewalks, there are no shoulders. It would really impede the natural flow. My property and my neighbor's property, Jim, together, two family dwellings, is the same size as where they're proposing to put 51 families. It's going to completely change our neighborhood. So, okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll just call you want to speak? If you come forward, please. I'm just going to try to work my way right back through. You could give your name and address. And go back.
Colleen White, 11 William Street. This whole development is right across the road from my place. William Street. I mean, it's a zoo by times, the way people drive around there. And there's days when I get really scared for the children that are on the street. Also, how come this development can be under the easement of the hydro lines? Mr. Patterson and where Mr. and Mrs. Crooks are right now, my sister and brother-in-law used to live there. Hydro would come in and cut all your trees in the backyard because you couldn't do anything. And all of a sudden there's going to be 3-story houses here. What happened? All of a sudden the easement went away. The power lines didn't. You know, it's just one thing after the other. And the road isn't very wide. I mean, we get pretty good snow drifts there. But so many, and 1.8 of a hectare. That's a lot of people in one small area. Couldn't they have gotten someplace with 2 hectares maybe? To be able to have a little bit of arm room, and everybody would be able to have a parking in front of their house, not over in the field someplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Okay, second row. Same thing, name and address and share information.
Hello, my name is Robin Carl. I live at 3 William Street. Not great at public speaking, so bear with me. And it's my birthday today, so I really wanted to be here. This is not how I wanted to spend it. I just want to make it known that I do not agree with changing the zoning of the property the way that they want to. I am concerned about the increase of traffic, and our house is actually right across from the parkette. And that's why I bought it, for that green space that was there that was hardly ever used. And if we wanted to use it as part of an extension for our house, then I could, and we could enjoy the park. I feel like there's not going to be enough green space in their plan to accommodate for that. And there's going to be so many people in that park that it's going to be crazy. I'm also concerned about the effect. We bought our house. We moved into our house just before the pandemic. So we kind of thought we knew what we were getting into when we bought there. We came from a house in the country with all trees around us. So it was very purposeful that we had nobody behind us, nobody in front of us, and nobody beside us. So I just think it's too people-y for me. I do not agree with the change in the front yard variation. And the traffic study is crazy. So it's not it's not real. At least there would be 2 houses, 2 cars per unit. There should be. My house has 3 cars in my driveway, so I don't know why anybody else wouldn't when they live in Odessa with no buses. I moved into low density zoning. I would like it to stay low density zoning. I also signed a petition. I was not able to come to the last meeting. My boyfriend and I were not able to come that night. That's why I'm here too, to make it known. But I have made it known through that petition that I'm against this. I think that's all. I think that's everything. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, and happy birthday. Anyone else wish to speak? Please come forward.
Sorry, I've got a bad foot. My name is Jackie Crooks, and I'm at 10 William Street. I'm right beside where you plan, or they plan on building. I have a few concerns. One of them is the traffic and the children on the street, because if you notice, the sidewalk only goes up to so far, and then it's nothing. And we're right on the bend too. And that's a very bad location, especially if these construction trucks and everything are going to be there. I don't know why they didn't put the entrance off of County Road 6. It would have been a lot easier. I also believe that it's unfair to the residents on William Street. There should have been a lot more openness and a lot less secrecy. We had people in our backyard and 2 and 3 times a week for a couple of weeks. And when I asked if someone could tell me what was going on, they said they couldn't. So I asked them to have somebody in authority call me, and I never got a phone call. So I've got something else here.
My husband and I are both in our late 70s, and we moved to Odessa. Number one, to be near relatives, but number two, we chose that house because of the privacy that was there. With these condos going up, we won't have any privacy whatsoever. They could build a 3-story fence, and that would be sufficient. But you, according to the bylaws, you can only go so many feet. The blasting, I don't know what it's going to do to our houses because, as I said, we're right there on the line. There's nothing between us unless they build a fence. But I was concerned because that's all, as far as I know, underneath the soil is all sheer rock. So that's going to take a long time to blast that out. And I'm also concerned about the gas station across the road and what it's going to do to the road, because that's not all new pavement. I think that's about it. The traffic is going to be terrible. We have ATVers in the summer and we have snowmobilers in the winter. They drive up and down that street all the time. And you're going to have cars coming in and out of that roadway. And it's on a bad spot for them to be coming out of. And I wasn't aware that you had to have 2 parking spaces for every unit, but that seems a bit much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance? The red shirt on, please come on up and you can give your name and address and share your information.
My name is Stephanie Gilbert. I live at 27 William Street. And like everybody else, I'm totally against this proposed development. Is council aware that in the early 90s, there was a plan presented to build 6 houses in that area? And it was turned down because the hydro lines ran through there, too close to the 401 on-ramp. And the water and sewer on our street is already at capacity so that it couldn't accommodate anymore. If you put 51 units in there with 2, 3, 4 people living in each unit, that's what, 500-600 flushes of a toilet a day. What's that going to do to our water pressure? Okay, it's going to totally wipe it out. They did a traffic survey in March of this year when we were shut down with COVID. People were working from home. And they based it on the number of cars leaving in the morning and coming home at night, multiplied that by 2%, and said that by 2027, there would be 19 cars going to work in the morning and coming home at night. If you put 51 units in there, you're going to have a heck of a lot more than 19 cars going up and down that street. They're basing their parking spots and a lot of their information on Kingston and Napanee, which totally does not apply to Odessa. We have no downtown. If anybody lives in Odessa, we have appointments. We have to go to Kingston. We have to go to Napanee. Anybody that's living in a place where you have 2 people working, you need 2 cars. You're going to have easily 100 or more people going up and down that small street every day. Totally not doable. The main thing is, as everybody says, our street is low density, single unit, basically. But for the purpose of the quietness, we don't need the construction. We don't need all these people. You have a lot of land right behind this building on Shane Street that could be cleared and put people in there, no problem. We do not need 100+ people extra living on a low density street. With that in mind, I have a petition here that I would like to present to council, signed by all but 2 houses on William Street and the majority of people on Factory Street who are opposed to this, stating in here why. Who do I give it to?
You can just pass it over to the clerk's department there. We'll make sure that it's-
I thank you for your time and please, please, please do not allow that to go through. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay.
Hello, I'm Angela Patterson. I live at 22 William Street. I'm going to keep this really short and abrupt. I oppose it for all of the reasons my counterparts have mentioned, but nobody seems to have mentioned about the 401 access. It's not part of their study for William Street, but I, as a worker in the city of Kingston, I travel onto the 401 every morning and access it by that way. Well, that has increased dramatically since. So I don't know where he's getting his facts for the traffic study, but he better go on other streets too. It's not correct. I'm concerned mostly about the parking. I work for another municipality. I used to work in the parking services of that municipality. And no matter what they say about the condo units and the high price units, and everybody is looking to share their accommodations lately. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, renting their lower units out or whatever. So even if two people move into those units, you're going to probably account for probably 4 people that are driving. So to cut back on the parking spaces is crazy, first of all, because you need at least 2 people. Because we're in Odessa, we don't have public transportation. Everybody's got to drive to get where they're going. Nobody, well, I won't say nobody works in Odessa, but very few people work right here in Odessa. They travel to get to work. Number 2, 401 is all commuter traffic. So basically, I'm concerned about the traffic because where are they going to park those vehicles? Yep, they've got a lot of land over there that they've shown you how nice it's going to look. But if you look around our neighborhood already, people get ticketed for parking on their front lawns because they can't accommodate the parking. So what is the 51 units going to do? It's going to flow over and get ready because my phone's going to be busy if my driveway's parked and blocked up because I'm right next to it. So that's all I have to say, but you need to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this side? Seeing none. We'll go to the virtual audience. Is there anyone else in the virtual audience that wishes to speak to this planning item?
I have Kim and Dan here, if I'm allowed to speak.
Okay. Kim and Dan, you're in the virtual meeting now. If you wish to go ahead and present your information.
Hi there, my name's Kim Herrick. My husband and I are at 5 Factory Street, so we'll be looking right at the condo complex. So we do have a number of concerns that we're hoping that would be taken into consideration when making a decision on the future of this property and development. So the volume of traffic on William Street and Factory Street is very concerning, as many folks have already been saying. So we already experience a number of speeders and erratic driving on both Factory and William Street with little to no enforcement in place. Should a condo complex be developed, this would significantly increase the traffic flow on the surrounding roadways, including William Street, Factory Street, and on Mud Lake Road. In addition, this road, William Street, has no sidewalks. It's a popular walking and biking area for individuals, including families and young children. With there currently being no sidewalks and considering the significant increase in traffic, should the property be developed, this is a huge cause for safety concern. Mud Lake Road is another road where there's significant speeding with little to no enforcement. And as with William Street, there's no sidewalks for pedestrians to use. So it would be anticipated that this street will become more heavily utilized with the addition of a condo development, specifically in the morning and afternoon to and from the school district. Has any considerations been made to enforce speed along this road, as well as the addition of sidewalks? As just mentioned, the off-ramp from the 401 to Canny Road 6 is heavily congested and backed up currently. So with the proposed development, it would be anticipated more traffic on the ramp and on County Road 6. So will we be considering adding any traffic lights on County Road 6 where the off-ramp meets, and or options to mitigate traffic congestion? The north end of Factory Street and William Street are very poorly lit. William Street Park is extremely dark in the evenings, creating an unsafe environment as it is. So with the addition of proposed development, increasing the population in the small neighborhood, has consideration been made to increase the lighting to enhance safety along Factory and William Street, including the William Street Park. In addition, with roughly an anticipated 100 new residents in this small area, will enhancements be made to William Street Park for additional play structures? Because as mentioned earlier, there are 4 swings currently. The village of Odessa as a whole has significantly increased in population over the past 2 years. With the growing number of people, including a significant increase in school-aged children, there is concern with the increase in traffic, speeders, and erratic driving throughout the village. There's one crossing guard in Odessa right now, and at this time, that's no longer sufficient. So we need to consider, with adding another 100 people to this small area, how are our kids going to safely cross the road to get to school? We've also been working with Loyalist bylaw for several years with regards to a property in this area, and curious if with these 100 new residents, if the bylaw is going to increase, allowing them to address situations in a more timely manner, because at this time it is complaint-based only and has taken many, many years to get issues rectified. The small community within William Street and Factory Street is relatively quiet, a very friendly neighborhood. It's always been anticipated the vacant property one day be developed to house a residential dwelling. However, it is a shock to many of us of this proposed condominium development. So a development of this size would significantly alter the aesthetic and the peaceful demeanor of this quiet neighborhood. Many residents have lived in this area for a decade or beyond, and this news has been devastating to many. If it had been known that this would be the future plan of this lot, I suspect many of the current residents would have taken that into consideration before purchasing their homes. Also, we have a neighbor at 2 William Street who was unable to attend. His wife and himself have mentioned in their letter many of the details that other folks have brought up tonight, but one issue that hasn't been brought up is the increased number of calls to the OPP in our area due to prowlers and attempted break and enters just within the William Street and Factory Street area. So will there be plans to increase the police presence in our area? And lastly, I'd like to mention that we do have a lot of transients coming off the 401 and using the William Street Park as a washroom during the day. So again, with this increase of people, will there be any consideration taken with respect to those additional folks coming and utilizing that park? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I just ask if there's anyone else in the virtual meeting or virtual audience that would like to join the meeting. You could use your raised hand feature.
Zach Bernard Dimmers.
Oh, actually, no, they're not on camera.
Good evening, Zach. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes,
Oh, perfect. All right. So good evening. My name is Zachary Bernard Demers. My wife Ashley and I live right next to Dan and Kim at 3 Factory Street. Right at both our houses are right at the corner of Williams and Factory Street. Just listening to everybody this evening, I had written down a few points as well that I kind of had wanted to bring up this evening. I as well am someone who was looking for a low density neighborhood when I retired from the military. My wife and I were looking for a nice quiet area to live with our 2-year-old, well, 2.5-year-old daughter. This property was perfect as it was quiet, but close to all the access, had that little parkette with the swings that she loves. So my biggest concerns that I look at, and that I'm pretty sure everybody has voiced this evening, is the safety of our children with throwing in up to 100, what I would think would probably be about 100 vehicles or more, moving up and down Williams and Factory Street. Whether speeding is involved or not, that's a high flow of traffic for such a small, low density area. So I think that safety of the children is paramount. Another big concern, obviously, is the traffic overload for County Road 6, William Street, Factory Street, Mud Lake Road. Again, as Kim Herrick had pointed out, with the speeding that happens, that we have also witnessed ourselves. Adding in another 100 vehicles, or even if it's a bit less, adding in that is the potential for that percentage of speeders and potential incidences with motor vehicle accidents to skyrocket. Another question or concern that I would have would be the potential renter demographics. Now, even though these would be condominiums and people would be purchasing them and be owners, as we all know, in the KFL&A area, as well as a lot of areas in Ontario, a lot of people purchase properties and rent them out because they try and make a little bit of money, or because the housing market is hot, or whatever reasons they choose. I would have to say, given from my personal experience and from the experience of many, many people I know that are also landlords and have been renters, that the renter demographics are usually 50-50 between good renters and really bad, terrible renters, or people that tend to cause a lot of issues in neighborhoods. After speaking to some homeowners on Potter Drive, who have found out that basically homeowners have turned into landlords there and have rented out to people, like a lot of people in Kingston have, that, as Kim had mentioned, the amount of prowlers, drug users, thieves, vandals has increased simply from that new development, because of new homeowners renting out to people that have cleared credit checks or background checks, but yet aren't necessarily the most savory people that we want to have in our small little community, where children are all over the parks, all up and down the sidewalks, all over the town, day in and day out. It's a small community. It's a quiet community. It's a nice community. Having 50 condominiums, I can almost guarantee you that about 50 to 75% of these will be rented out. And I can almost guarantee that about 50% of those renters are going to be people that we may not necessarily want to have walking around our streets, especially at this little parkette at the corners of our streets where it is dimly lit. Another issue that I had wanted to bring up was that maybe wasn't mentioned, was the post office access in the Main Street in Odessa. Everybody goes to these two areas via Main Street, William Street, Factory Street, or Mud Lake Road. Everybody needs to go there to either stop at a corner store, pick up some food, go to the post office, access whatever they need to access. So there's going to be an immense amount of traffic flow, where there's already at many times of the day a standstill of traffic at all these different intersections. And then last but not least is, what would the tax implications for property taxes due to this new development? And if it were to go through, you're potentially bringing up the value of the community, right? And it's the assets that it holds. How is this going to affect us as current homeowners who already have a decent amount of property taxes that we pay, but yet can't get a little four-swing parkette across the street properly lit to keep our children safe? How is this going to affect our property taxes if this development goes through? I believe that is all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just ask, is there anyone else in the virtual meeting that wishes to speak on this planning item?
I have Mesha.
Welcome, Mesha. Please provide your name and address and provide us with your information.
Hi, my name is Misha Thompson. I live at 19 William Street. And first and foremost, I just want to thank all my neighbors for all the work that they have done and coming forward, collecting signatures, doing all this research. I can't thank you enough for that. And I love our community for this reason because of everything. So thank you guys so much. My driveway is basically right across from where all of these 100 and some odd cars are going to come out at 8 to 9 a.m. every morning. I work at Queen's University, so I have to get downtown Kingston every morning. So every morning I'm already going to have to fight with 100 and some odd cars to get out of my driveway. Just my driveway, let alone getting on the 401. It's already hard enough turning left onto Princess Street in the morning now. I can't even imagine what it would be like if you added over 100 cars to that. Because I'm sorry, there needs to be 2 cars for every single one of them. And whether or not they actually are able to park there or not, I guarantee you there will be 2 cars. And who knows where they're going. Our street is only really big enough for 1 car traffic. It's basically 1 lane. There's no lines, there's no painted, there's no safety already on our roads. We have to go so slowly already for all of the children, not to mention this being right next to the on-ramp and the off-ramp. I want to know about fencing. What are the safety regulations that you're going to have? Because I guarantee you, percent-wise, there's going to be some families that are living there. I can't even imagine what it would be like for a child to run out onto that on-ramp or that off-ramp, let alone into our streets. That corner is an L. And we already have to go around it so slowly just in case someone's there. And every time I come home to mothers, fathers, either with their children, with their dogs, all of these animals on this street. And I can't even imagine what it would be like if you add 100 and some odd people to this street. I know I'm never going to be able to get out of without having to sit in my driveway for probably maybe 20 minutes waiting for all these people to get out. So I guess my question then would be, how are you going to regulate this traffic? You can't make it wider. The houses are too close. There's no way you can do it. I don't understand why it's there. There's so many places in our wonderful community of Odessa that this could be placed. And I'm not against growing. I love that we're growing as a community. What it needs to be is just in a different place. I'm also just worried also about the foundation of my home. I have an older home. It's at least 30 years. So with blasting, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get through into the limestone, are there going to be people from that company coming to my house? Are they going to take photos of my foundation? Is there going to be some kind of legal document binding saying they will fix my home, my foundation? Because this is something I clearly do not want. I am against it. And if they break my home, I want to know what the legality is of it. It shouldn't be up to me and my insurance, which would go up if I made a claim. If this blasting hurts the foundation, let alone any of the waterworks that are or the gas lines, that aside, what are they going to do for my foundation if it's cracked? Will they fix it? Are they going to come and take documentation, or do I need to submit that? Because I will not be a part of that. That is not up to me to do when someone is coming into my property and doing this. Someone needs to have this legality. I need to know all of the safety regulations for my road, for my community, because this is unsafe upon everything. So again, thank you all for listening. And again, thank you so much to my neighbors and for doing everything that you've done. And I can't thank you all enough for everything you've done.
Thank you for that information. And I'd ask, is there anyone else in the virtual audience that wishes to speak to this planning? If there is, if you could use the raise hand feature.
Heidi's asked again, but typically it's ones
Yeah.
the chair.
I understand there is somebody wishing to speak twice, but it is only once to be able to speak at this time in the public session like this. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the virtual meeting?
Not on the virtual, although we do have one of the panelists, so one of the applicants.
I want to make sure we got all public
Yeah. I don't see
comments
it.
first. So there's none? Okay. Ms. Powder, you have something to bring to council?
I was ready to respond to questions. If that-
At this time, this meeting is to receive
Oh, okay.
all questions and comments, and the final report that's done should address that all. Okay, thank you. So with that, it appears that we've had all of the information presented. There is. I'd like to thank everyone for bringing that information forward. We do, looking to council, we do have the report with the recommendation to be received, all information to be received, and that the recommendation be brought forward to council once comments from the township departments, agencies, and public have been addressed. Council, how do you wish to proceed? Councilor Town.
So moved.
So moved. Seconded by Councilor Gordon. Any comments from the mover, the seconder, anyone else? Call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and providing us with the information. We appreciate it. You're more than welcome to stay, but if you prefer not, if you could just do it quietly, we would appreciate that. We still have to carry on. So the next item is confirmation of agenda. Just before I do that, I just wanted to provide the information that we did receive regrets from Councilor Porter for this evening's meeting. And Mr. Silver, you wanted to share some information prior to us accepting the agenda?
Yes, Your Worship, if I could. I just wanted to clarify something on the agenda this evening. Actually, it's something that isn't on the agenda. Item 20.2 is a bylaw authorizing acquisition of property on County Road 4, the former Rankin Garage. There would normally be a staff report with such a bylaw. Now, this matter was approved in closed session previously, and it was a last minute addition this evening to the agenda. So we didn't have time to prepare a report. Unfortunately, the acquisition of the property is, of course, being paid through development charges. So it's certainly within the in the budget for certain. So if council chooses that they want to extract that bylaw from the agenda, I'm sure that staff would be glad to speak to it at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we have the agenda before us. Do we have a mover to adopt the agenda? Councilor Budrick, seconded by Councilor Parks. Just looking to staff to make sure there's no changes, additions before we. Any comments from the mover or seconder? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Are there any declarations? Seeing none, we have no delegations or presentations. Next item is the minutes of the September 26th meeting. We have them before us. Any errors or omissions noted by council? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Councilor Townend, so moved. Seconded by Councilor Budrick. Any comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. We don't have it. The next one is Corporate Services Department. Excuse me. Human Resources Policy. Any, I see staff came on. Are you just available for questions or did you have anything to present?
Available for questions.
Questions, thank you. Council, any questions regarding this? Seeing none, thank you. We have a motion to adopt. How do we wish to proceed? Councilor Booth.
Producer, so moved.
So moved, seconded by Councilor Parks. Any comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion has passed. Amherst Island Ferry, Unitary Commissioning update. The report is here. I see staff coming forward. Are you just here to take questions if there are any? Okay, thank you. Council, we have a recommendation to receive for information. How would we like to proceed? Councilor Parks?
Receive for information, please.
Receive. Seconded by Councilor Booger. Any comments from the mover?
It's one of those matters that still is in the works. Would like to have more information, but it's all going on.
Seconder, nothing? Anyone else? And yes, this is an ongoing discussion and an ongoing matter, so we're hoping more information will be coming forward quite soon. And with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. That connecting link intake number 8. We have the report before us with a recommendation. Council, how would we like to proceed? Councilor Parks.
Motion to receive and support the application and recommendations.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Councilor Town. Any comments from the mover?
No, it'd be nice. Hopefully we get funding for this.
For seconder? More? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Housekeeping amendments to Loyalist Township zoning plan. We have a report and recommendation. Do we have a mover for the item tonight? Councilor Taylor. So moved. Do we have a second? Councilor Booger. Any comments from the movers? No, sir. Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Notice of motion or direct motion? Any notices of motion or direct motion this evening? Seeing none. Consent agenda. Another reading test. For the purpose of convenience and for expediting meetings, matters of business that are of repetitive or routine nature are included in the consent agenda. And all such matters of business contained in the consent agenda are voted on collectively. A particular matter of business may be singled out from the consent agenda for debate or for a separate vote upon the request of any council. In the case of a separate vote, the excluded matter of business is severed from the consent agenda. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting. Are there any items any members of council would like to extract? Councilor Parks.
20.2 and 22.1.
Getting right spot here. 20.2 and sorry, what was the other?
22.1.
22.1. Okay. Okay. Any other items? Any council member wishing to extract? Seeing none? There is a recommendation for the remainder. If we have a motion for everything except 20.2 and 22.1. Councillor Town. So moved. Seconded by Councillor Gordon. Any comments from the mover? Seconder, anyone else? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion is carried. Councillor Parks, 20.2. Go with that one first. Just going to bring it up. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering if the CAO could expand on a little bit in regards to the acquisition of that property.
Our CAO, Mr. Silver, did you hear the question?
I did. I
Okay.
did, yes, through you, your worship. This property came up for sale. It was not listed, so it was not in real estate at the time. And we were looking for property. We're looking to expand our facilities department, which is currently located in a shop in the town of Bath, because we've grown out of it, plus moving some of our park staff as well. So we had a budget for that, and much of this, because we were growing, is due to growth of the municipality. So it is also eligible under our development charges plan. So the cost of the property will be taken from that fund. So we look forward to doing. There are a few renovations have to occur, and we also have a short-term rental on the property as effective today. Acon will be renting part of the property to hold some things while they're working within the area. So we're already making a little bit of unexpected revenue from it. So it closed at the end of first week of October. So now it is part of our portfolio.
Thank you. Councillor Parks, anything further?
Just wanted to thank the CIO and the staff for making this happen.
Thank you.
I like the idea of already making money on it too. Any other questions or comments on this? Seeing none, and I just got brain fog. Did we get a mover and second around this? Councilor Parks made the motion. You made the motion. Did we get a second? You, Councilor Bubrick? Okay. Anything further from you? Okay. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. And 22.1, increased fines for speeding. Councilor Parks.
I asked for this to be extracted. I'd like to see it be received and support. We deal with a lot of speeding issues in our community, so it's something that I think we should get rid of.
Move to receive and support.
Yep.
Do we have a second? Councilor Bubrick. Any further comments from the mover?
Sorry.
It's getting late. Okay. Councilor Bubrick.
Just like to reiterate the point that where Councilor Parks is going with this. Like we all have been the last few weeks out and about and seeing a few more constituents, we're definitely hearing some traffic concerns, and speed is definitely one of them. So definitely needs to be supported.
Very good. Any other comments, council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise their hand. Motion is passed. Okay. Business members' privilege. Any items to come forward under members' privilege? Pardon me? 27. Oh, I missed that. Yes, my apologies. 27. I skipped right by. Updates for members appointed to county council, committees, or local board. My apologies. Please go ahead, Councilor Parks.
I just wanted to report from the Lafarge committee that we sit on that our point of contact who is Brenda McPhee has been completing Lafarge. She's their environmental manager, and she's been a great asset to the township as well as the village of Bath with concerns that have been raised for the plan. So we wish her well, and she will be missed.
She will certainly be missed by the community as well as the business itself. Any other updates from members appointed? Seeing none. Okay. So now I'm at members' privilege. Anyone have anything under members' privilege? Seeing none. Confirmatory bylaw. Could we have a motion for the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Parks. Any comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. We have the upcoming meeting dates. November 15th, the inaugural meeting. November 28th is a regular council meeting. December 5th, committee of the whole, and also council orientation, and December 12th, committee of adjustment and a limited council. So with that, we are down to adjournment. Just before we adjourn, I would just like to make note that I'd like to thank council and staff for this is our last official meeting in this term, and it's well, it's been kind of an interesting term. I mean, the obvious pandemic and everything else, but I believe we've made a lot of successes, and we've voted very well through the 4 years, and with the ups and downs, I believe we did very well. So I just wanted to thank council, the current council, for all the work that's been done, and the staff that stuck with it and helped us succeed at everything that we did. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn. Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Town. I'm assuming any comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We are adjourned at 8:27. Thank you.